Hi folks, welcome back to the shop. Period Woodworker here. I'd like to finish up this series of videos I've been doing on this new Gerstner chest, or a new old Gerstner chest that I have that came in with some damage as a result of someone trying to break into this lock on the back of one of the compartments in the chest. If you will remember, this is the bar that was inside of the lock, and they had bent it. You can actually even see the bend, which means it was pried on pretty hard. And I was able to get it open by sticking a hacksaw blade in and cutting off about a ½ inch of this bar. Well, I've looked around on the Gerstner site, and the problem is that I cannot get this lock anymore that I'm able to find. This is a 3/4 inch barrel that this has that goes through the door, and all I can find now are 7/8 inch barrels. So I think what I'm going to do is, I believe there's a key number on the back of this. You can see where I did a little work on it to get it flat. This thing was bent almost in a 90-degree where they had tried to pry it. And I got this back. I got these little pins re-peened to hold this on, but just gently for now, in case I later on, if I replace this, I'll just cut one out of a piece of bar stock and put it back in. It just, all it does is it slips down over a post on a little pin on the back of the lock that turns and makes it go in and out. So we'll see if I can get the key. If I can get a key, I will put the bar back in here, or I'll make one and put it back in here, reinstall this. If I can't get the key, then I'm not going to be opening it up anyway, so I will just reinstall this without the hasp, and that's just going to be one part of this chest that I won't be able to lock. What we're doing back here today is, you will remember that in their attempt to break into this, they tore this walnut door up on the inside edge. This is the inside and the outside. I'm going to plane this off. Since I'm going to use that old hasp, I'm not going to replace this door. I'm just going to plane this off flat, glue a new piece of wood on, reshape it, put the lock back on, and we'll be finished. So I'll be back in a minute after I get it planed, and we'll go to work. I'm just going to use my bedrock number 3 that I've got here, and I use this all the time. One of my favorite planes. It's got a flat sole. I wouldn't want to use a corrugated on here, because corrugated sometimes will catch on the sharp edge here, so a flat sole's better. So let's plane this off. Just use your judgment, and you want to I don't want to go past the outside edge of this, but I do want to go deep enough to get all this damage. So I have my plane kind of finely set, so you want to make sure what you're planing back here is about the same up here, which it's not right now. Okay, we got to the front. I haven't got quite deep enough on the back. That's good. I think that'll probably do good enough. I can live with it. Okay, I'll cut a piece of wood and we'll come back and glue it on. Okay, I've cut a small wedge of walnut. I've tried to match the grain. The grain on the door was kind of a, it was, you can see on the edge, it was an edge grain. I don't know if I can get it to you there or not. Kind of a quarter sawn with the lines on here. So I did this quarter sawn, and on the edge I've got face grain, which would have been correct. And I cut a longer piece so that I had a choice, and I like this one. The color of this one, the end of this, more closely managed the maple that or the walnut that I had there. So I'm going to put this on. As you see, I'm using the door the way I took it off. I still have half of the hinges on there. I might have to take those off when I clamp this, but it's not going to be a hard clamp. So, for use of walnut repair, I love to use a hide glue. It's repairable, it's easy to sand off, it's easy to match your joints. And I just use kind of a rub joint. Now, this is the front of the door. We want the small piece of this wedge, obviously, on the front of the door. Let's set that on there, kind of rub the joint, which I'm sure all of you have done before. You know all about rub joints, or it just makes it stick a little better. It spreads your glue. I'm going to slide this right to the very edge. It's the only part that I'm going to line up, because I don't want to have to plane this off on the face of this. Okay, let's glue it up. I've already got a couple of clamps started on this. Sometimes you need 8 hands to do one of these glue ups when you're gluing angled, and about all you can do is just hope that you get it on there strong enough to where it won't slide around. So I use these when I'm doing this repair work. I use these little mini clamps here. They're kind of hard to find. Different manufacturers make them, but I've used these in model making and different things like that, or repair work. They're just great. I have, I think, about a dozen of them I bought. So they actually were kind of expensive for their size, but anyway, the one-hand assembly makes it all worthwhile. Now, usually if you glue, you will glue on both sides of a item to keep it from bowing, but on this you actually want these to kind of pull this wood to the front, and so I'm keeping all of the clamps on the front of this while making sure that at the back it's still going. One positive thing about this hide glue that I use, it's very good for cleanup, and it's easier to clean up than yellow glue or white glue, and it's part of the reason I like it. So there, we've got our wedge glued on. We have our clamps on there. Got a little bit of glue squeeze out. I'm not going to worry about that until I pull the clamps off. This one keeps giving me a little headache. Ah, there we go. You have to horse these back and forth sometimes where you can find just the right place. That usually doesn't come up when you're gluing flat panels, but when you're gluing a wedged shaped wood, it can be a little tricky. So I'll come back when it's done. We'll finish shaving it off so it matches the door, and we'll be finished with this project. Thanks for joining me. Period Woodworker. See you next time.